On my 34th birthday, I found myself waiting alone for 2 hours at the city's priciest restaurant, enduring the waiter's gaze as it shifted from courteous to sympathetic. My girlfriend, Sophia, was running late, an all too familiar habit, but this delay was unprecedented. I tried calling and messaging her. No reply. Just as I was about to leave, she made her dramatic arrival. She wasn't by herself. She strolled in arm with a stranger, a cocky guy sporting a flawless haircut and a flashy watch. They paused at my table. Sophia didn't even glance my way. Instead, she leaned in and kissed the guy, a slow, intentional act right there in the packed dining room. Then, turning to him with a voice loud enough for nearby tables to hear, she said, "See? I told you he'd still be sitting here like a loyal little dog." The guy smirked. The restaurant fell silent. I felt the weight of countless eyes waiting for my reaction, expecting an outburst. But instead, a strange calm washed over me. The pain and fury were there, but distant, locked behind a wall of clarity. I looked at Sophia's smug, vicious expression, then at the guy, who now seemed uneasy as the spectacle fizzled. I gave them a genuine, easy smile. Standing, I straightened my coat and offered my hand to him. "Well done," I said, my tone steady. "You've clearly claimed the trophy." He stared at my outstretched hand, puzzled, but shook it out of reflex. I left a $100 bill on the table to cover the drinks I'd nursed while waiting, nodded to the stunned waiter with a "have a good one," and walked out without a backward glance. I didn't rush or storm off. I simply left. The night air hit me like a wave of freedom. It was the first breath of a new chapter. The loyal dog had just broken free, and he was ready to torch the kennel. Sophia and I had a history that, in hindsight, feels predictable. We met 2 years ago, and for the first 12 months, she was everything I wanted, lively, warm, seemingly impressed by my drive. I've always been discreet about my wealth, having learned early that flaunting it draws the wrong crowd. My penthouse is in a modest building. My car is dependable but unremarkable, and my wardrobe is sharp but understated. Sophia knew I was comfortable but never grasped the full picture. I never corrected her assumptions, wanting her to love me for who I was, not what I could offer. But over the last year, her true nature emerged. Entitlement crept in. She'd grumble about my car not being a BMW, or how we weren't jetting off to Paris on a whim. She began treating me less like a partner and more like a personal assistant. Her job, some nebulous social media gig she worked from home, never seemed to generate income. I covered everything. Dinners, trips, her car payments, her growing stash of luxury dresses. First, I didn't care. I was smitten and I could afford it. But her appreciation turned to demands, her affection tied to what I could buy next. She loved telling people we lived in her apartment, a strange tick I never challenged. "Come by my place," she'd tell her friends. She chose most of the decor and I let her, wanting her to feel settled. I didn't realize she was crafting a fantasy where she ruled a kingdom she didn't own. The loyal dog jab wasn't just a barb. It was how she viewed me. Obedient, waiting endlessly no matter how poorly she behaved. She had no clue that the dog didn't just live in the penthouse. He owned the entire complex. I'd purchased the building 4 years ago through a holding company, a savvy investment that paid off richly. Sophia knew I had some investments, but she thought they were just mutual funds. She never cared about the details, too focused on spending to ask how the money was made. The building's management company, which I employed, handled the daily operations. When I got home from the restaurant, I went straight to the spare room, her closet, essentially, stuffed with racks of dresses, shoes, and bags worth more than my car. I didn't bother with suitcases. I grabbed a stack of heavy-duty trash bags from the utility closet and started packing. Gowns, jackets, heels, everything went in. Her cosmetics, her jewelry, her laptop, all stuffed into the bags. I worked methodically, feeling nothing. It was just a task. Took over an hour. By the end, I had 12 bulging bags filled with her belongings. I hauled them into the hallway outside my door, one by one. Then I grabbed anything else of hers. Photos, knickknacks, books, and packed them into a smaller bag, placing it neatly on top. I called a 24-hour locksmith. While waiting, I scanned the apartment for any remaining traces of her. The locksmith, a weary guy who'd likely seen plenty of breakups, arrived around midnight. He swapped out the locks on the front door and the service entrance efficiently. I paid him cash and he left. The apartment was mine again. I poured a glass of bourbon, sat on the couch and took in the silence. My phone started buzzing almost immediately. "Sophia," I let it go to voicemail. A text followed. Where are you? That stunt wasn't cute. I deleted it without replying. Then a call from the new guy whose number I didn't know but could guess. Ignored. I silenced my phone, flipped on the TV, and savored the calm. By morning, my phone showed 78 missed calls. A mix from Sophia, the new guy, named Marcus, per her frantic voicemails, and a few of her friends. The voicemails were a journey. First indignant, then panicked as she realized I wasn't answering, and finally a blend of tearful apologies and venomous threats. It was the sound of a narcissist losing her grip. The real drama kicked off at 9 a.m. Through my security camera, I saw Sophia and Marcus in the hallway, staring at the pile of trash bags. Sophia's face was pure fury. She kicked at the bags, screeching about her precious clothes being ruined. Marcus stood there, visibly awkward, a reluctant actor in her scene. She pounded on my door, shouting my name. I let her rage for a bit, watching from the camera. Then I cracked the door open. What is this? She screamed, gesturing at the bags. What's wrong with you? Those are your things, I said evenly. I thought you'd need them. You tossed my stuff out like garbage, she yelled. And my key doesn't work. Let me into my apartment now. I let a faint smile cross my face. You're mistaken, I said. This isn't your apartment. Her expression was one of utter bewilderment. What are you talking about? It's mine. My name's on the lease. No, it's not, I replied. You've never seen a lease. You've never signed one. And you've never paid rent. Her face paled as the truth began to sink in. This is my apartment, I went on, my voice calm but firm. Actually, it's my building. I own it. Every brick. The loyal dog you mocked last night? He was your landlord. But your stay, which was always unofficial, is over. You have 10 minutes to clear your junk from my hallway before security handles it. She stared, speechless. Marcus looked like he'd seen a poltergeist, stepping back as if to distance himself from the chaos. Sophia's voice finally broke through. A whisper. You're lying. I reached inside, grabbed a folder from the entry table, and held up a copy of the building's deed. My name and holding company clear as day. The silence was golden. In that instant, her entire world, a fantasy built on my supposed weakness and her inflated sense of control, collapsed. She wasn't the queen holding court over her devoted subject. She was a moocher who'd just been kicked out by the man she'd humiliated hours before. You can't do this, she stammered, tears streaming. I have nowhere to go. That's your issue, I said. Maybe Marcus can help. You two seemed tight last night. I glanced at Marcus, who was already edging toward the elevator, clearly done with the mess. 9 minutes, I said, shutting the door and locking it. Through the camera, I watched her crumple onto the bags, sobbing. Marcus hesitated, muttered something, then bolted for the elevator. He was out. She was alone with her stuff. The fallout came next. A few hours later, the bags were gone. Sophia must have pulled herself together and taken them. But then my phone lit up with texts from mutual friends. What's going on? Sophia says you threw her out for no reason. She'd spun a story of me having a meltdown, claiming I'd evicted her after she tried to kindly break up with me. She omitted the part about showing up to my birthday with another man and mocking me publicly. I didn't get into a back and forth. I sent a single, clear reply to a few close contacts. For my birthday, Sophia arrived at the restaurant with another guy, kissed him in front of me, and called me a loyal dog for waiting. I ended things. The apartment she lived in, rent-free in the building I own, is no longer hers. That's it. The truth was airtight. A few friends who'd been at the restaurant had seen it all. Her story fell apart fast. Those who'd texted me with concern sent quick apologies. Stunned. I had no clue, one said. She's unhinged. Then came the financial retaliation. The next day, my bank flagged a $5,000 charge attempt at a luxury boutique. Declined. It was from a supplementary credit card Sophia had on my account, one I'd forgotten about. I called the bank, reported it stolen, and canceled it on the spot. She'd gone straight from eviction to a vengeful shopping spree, thinking the gravy train was still running. The declined charge must have hit her like a brick. Her family got involved soon after. Her mother, who'd always treated me with faint contempt, called, yelling that I was a heartless monster who'd left her poor daughter homeless. I let her vent, then cut in. Ma'am, your daughter humiliated me on my birthday with another man. She lived in my property for free, and that arrangement's done. Talk to my lawyer if you have issues. I gave her the lawyer's contact info and hung up. A week later, I got an email from Marcus, surprisingly earnest. He apologized, saying Sophia had painted me as a manipulative, abusive ex she was scared to leave. She'd staged the restaurant scene to escape me publicly. After seeing the truth at the apartment, he realized he'd been a pawn in her scheme. He said she'd been hounding him for cash and a place to stay, and he'd blocked her. He closed with, "You got lucky, man." I didn't respond, but it was nice to have confirmation. Word got around about Sophia's next chapter. With no home or income, she moved back with her parents. Her friends, fed up with her drama and constant mooching, started pulling away. She'd built her identity on a lifestyle she didn't earn and couldn't maintain. Without me, the loyal dog, her facade crumbled. Months passed, and the quiet was glorious. I redecorated the apartment, reclaiming it. I threw myself into work, took a trip with buddies, and embraced my freedom. One evening, my friends and I hit a downtown bar I hadn't visited in ages. As we sat, I spotted her, Sophia, working as a cocktail server. Our eyes locked across the room. The haughty, victorious look from the restaurant was gone, replaced by something new: embarrassment. She quickly looked away and ducked into the back. I didn't feel triumphant, just a calm sense of finality. She tried to break me, to make me feel worthless. But her own choices had led her exactly where she belonged, working for a living in a place where she once played the part of royalty.